Hey guys, Mr. Kruger here working on the Unit 1.2 review. I'm only going to pick and choose a few of the questions to work on, so pay attention to which ones we're choosing, because more of these will be due. So the first question is going to deal with this one up here, which has to find, using the picture, please label alternate interior, corresponding vertical angles, or linear pair. So we'll start with 8 and 4. Well, 8 and 4 are in the same position. They're both in the bottom left, and the definition that means same position is B, corresponding angles. 7 and 8, notice how they're part of the same group, and they're next to each other, so that's got to be a linear pair. 1 and 5, they're part of two different groups, and notice how they're in the same position, top left, top left. Remember, same position means corresponding. 4 and 5, well, they're part of two different groups, so it's got to be either alternate interior or corresponding, but they're not the same position. They're actually alternate of the transversal, and they're both in the interior, so it's alternate interior. 5 and 8, they're part of the same group, so it's vertical or linear pair. They're part of that bottom group. They are across from each other, so they are vertical angles. And then 7, 8, this is a repeat, that's kind of weird. Well, it's again a linear pair. Okay, please go down to question 3. We have to solve for both x and y, knowing we have two parallel lines cut by the transversal. We'll start with the 130 and connect it to 2x. Well, they're in the same position, so they're corresponding angles. And we know that corresponding angles are congruent based off your note sheet. So I can set 130 equal to 2x, and I can solve for x by dividing by 2. I get 65. So my x equals 65. But now I still need to solve for y. So if I know that this angle right here is 130 degrees, well, they make a linear pair with angle y. So if they make a linear pair, they add up to 180. So 130 plus 50 gives me that 180. Okay, please go down to question number 9. Well, that little box means 90 degrees, so I'm saying that the sum of these two angles, the 2x minus 1 and 3x plus 6, equals 90. So I can say 2x minus 1 plus 3x plus 6 equals 90, and solve for x. Combine like terms, I get 5x. Negative 1 plus 6 is positive 5, and solve for x. So I get 5x equals, I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides, so I get 85. And then divide by 5, and I should get 17. Okay, the last question we're going to do on this page is number 10. And it says, given the angle number 1 is 30 degrees, find all the other angles. So we'll start with the linear pair 1 and 2. If this one's 30, then angle 2 has got to be 150 because I have to add up to 180. And then we can start using vertical angles. Well, angle 3 is vertical with 1, so they're congruent. Angle 4 is vertical with 2, so they're congruent. And then now we need to make a connection to the other side. Well, if you want to do corresponding, then 1 and 5 are corresponding, so they're congruent. So that one's got to be 30. And then the linear pair with 5 is 8, so that's got to be 150. Now I can start using vertical angles. 5 and 7 are both vertical, so they must be congruent. And then 8 and 6 are both vertical, so they must be congruent. Okay, please. Take a look at number 11. We'll do that at the end. I put that on the last page, so jump up to 13. The given flag is from Puerto Rico. Measure of angle 3, which is this angle right here, is 55 degrees. Determine angle 1, which is this angle. Okay, well, let's first figure out angle 2. So if they make a 90-degree corner, then what's 90 minus 55? Okay, so we get 35 degrees. So that means angle 2 right here is 35 degrees. And if you notice, these are parallel lines that are creating the flag. So corresponding angles are always congruent, so that means that if angle 2 is 35, then angle 1, being congruent, has to be 35 as well. Okay, I'd like to do number 16 at the bottom. It says, what is an equation of a line? So that's got to be y equals mx plus b. That is perpendicular, so now we're thinking opposite reciprocal, to the line y equals 4x minus 7, and goes through 8 comma 3, so I'm going to label that x comma y. Well, if the original slope is 4, but the perpendicular slope is an opposite reciprocal, that new slope is going to be negative, which is opposite, and then the reciprocal, which is 1 over 4. So here's my new slope, and I have this coordinate 8 comma 3 that I can use, so I'm going to plug that into my formula right over here. So y is 3, my m is negative 1/4, my x is that 8, and then plus b, solve for b. So I get 3 equals negative 2 plus b. I'm going to add 2 to both sides, and I get 5 equals b. So now I have a slope of negative 1/4 and a y-intercept of 5. Write the equation. Y equals 1/4 x, and then plus the b, which is 5. So this is the new equation that's perpendicular to y equals 4x minus 7 and passes through 8 comma 3. Okay, so number 17, decide whether the lines are perpendicular, parallel, or neither. So we need our slopes. Okay, well, the slope up to this first question is 3, it's always the m, and then the slope of line Q is negative 1/3. Well, they're not the same, so they're not parallel. They are opposite, and they are reciprocals. So for letter A, they're perpendicular. Okay, take a look here. Well, line P has a slope of negative 4/5, and line Q has a slope of negative 5/4. Well, they're not the same. They're not opposite. They are reciprocals, but they're not opposite, so actually, this means neither. They have to have both properties, opposite and reciprocal. Okay, this one's tricky. C. Well, the first slope is negative 1, and the second slope is 1. Well, right now, they don't look like reciprocals of each other. But if I wanted to write negative 1 as a fraction, I'd write it as negative 1 over 1. If I wanted to write 1 as a fraction, I write it as 1 over 1. So they are opposite, because one's negative, one's positive, and they are reciprocal. So actually, these are perpendicular. Okay, for 17 and 18, please go back to your construction notes that are on a salmon-colored sheet of paper that will show you how to draw lines parallel and lines perpendicular. Those are the two examples that we both... Okay, so we've already set up the proof. We're given that angle 1 and angle 2 are a linear pair, angle 1 and angle 3 are a linear pair, and we need to prove that angle 2 is congruent to angle 3. So I have what's given to me, that's my first step. Now I want to figure out what is given to me. What do we know about linear pairs? Well, I know that they're supplementary. That means they equal 180. So I can say angle 1 plus angle 2 equals 180 degrees, and I can say angle 1 plus angle 3 is equal to 180 degrees. So my reason for that is, you could say linear pairs are supplementary. You could talk about definition of a linear pair, but you got to be very specific. Linear pairs are supplementary. Talk about what we talked about, which is linear pairs, and describe them as supplementary. Okay, so now I have that 1 plus 2 is 180 and 1 plus 3 is 180. Well, they both equal 180. So if I want to, I can set up an equation that says angle 1 plus angle 2 is equal to angle 1 plus angle 3, because look, they both equal 180. I could do substitution property, or I could even do transitive, because they both share 180 degrees. Okay, so now we have this equation. Go down to step 4. Remember, keep what's in mind. We want to have angle 2 equal to angle 3. Well, notice how they both share angle 1. So I can subtract angle 1 from both sides of the equation. I'm left with angle 2 is equal to angle 3 by the subtraction property. And that's exactly what we want to prove. Angle 2 is congruent to angle 3. Okay guys, good luck on this. Watch as many times as you like. These are the problems that are going to be due, and more, the ones that we circled in class.